So the next topic I wanted to go over really quick. That's another way that 2026 might be similar to 2012, or sorry, goodness sakes, 2012. I mentioned was the last time that an NFL season started on a Wednesday. I have another similarity that may end up happening in 2026. That's not a good thing. And that is with NFL officiating and with the referees. So if you don't remember, in 2012, there was the NFL and the NFL Referee Association were not able to come to an agreement, similar to the Players Association. They every certain amount of years, they have a collective bargaining agreement that, has to be agreed on, that kind of thing. And so what happened in 2012 was those negotiations didn't go well. And so, like usual with the NFL, the problem is, it doesn't matter if it's referees, the Players Association, the media, the NFL, it's a good problem to have if you're the NFL. I mean, not a problem for them at all, but a good problem for those of us that like the NFL and like the NFL being good, and that want to see that continue, is that the NFL is so big and successful that it's almost bad for its own good, because the NFL is just able to have so much leverage on any negotiating table that they go to. Again, whether that's with the Referees Association, the players, or with the media, they can just be, the NFL can come to the table and say, hey, this is what we want, take it or leave it. And if you want to leave it, okay, fine. We'll find replacements. We'll, if it really came down to it, like with player lockouts in the past, the NFL has shown, especially now with how much money they make now and how rich these owners are, the owners have no problem with threatening to shut down the league for a year, because they, the league would lose a lot of money, but they can survive that, save the costs on playing games and just, wait, especially with the players. The reason that a player shutout is not going to happen in that same sense is that the players have only a short amount of time to, that they're at this physical state where they're able to play in the NFL and make their money. So the problem is for the NFLPA, for the players, you're just never going to see a full lockout where all the players just choose to boycott unless their side is heard. You're just never going to see that happen, because even if a bunch of starting players were to decide that they want to stand up for, higher pay or whatever, you're going to have other players that are going to be willing to step in and, accept replacement checks to come and play. And so, for the players, that's never going to happen. And for the referees, what we did see in 2012 was they, for the Referees Association, they were a little bit more willing to fight with the NFL and stick it to them, and not accept what, the deal that the NFL was demanding they take for a time. Because in 2012, the first 3 weeks of the season, we ended up having replacement referees. And now the other thing is, if you didn't know, the way the NFL does their officiating is a little weird. A lot of pro leagues have full-time officials. Makes sense, right? The NFL does not have full-time officials. All those officials that you see regularly on NFL games, those guys have other full-time jobs. They might be professors, they might be, they might be doctors, they might be dentists, whatever. They've all got some other full-time job. NFL referees are not doing that job full-time, which for a league that makes as much money as it does, it's ridiculous. That even the main officiating is done that way. And it's just because, to the owners, they don't necessarily really care if people complain that officiating is bad, or that a play, even if people say that a game was ruined because an outcome was changed, the NFL owners most of them don't really care. They care about the bottom line, and that's it. Yes, some owners do want to win, and some more than others, but and some, like Jerry Jones, will talk like they want to win a lot, and then their actions don't necessarily match up. Sometimes maybe it's just they don't know how to win and make money at the same time. But if there's one thing they do know how to do, and they do like to do, it's make money. So, if they can save a couple bucks here and there by not paying full-time refs, that's how they do it. And again, for referees, what leverage do you have? And so I'm just warning you, we may be heading towards another replacement referee situation, at least for part of 2026. Now, what happened in 2012 was we had replacement refs. The season started as normal without the official refs, and that ended up culminating in the Week 3 Monday night game that became known as the Hail Mary game between the Seahawks and the Packers, where there was a Hail Mary that ended up being counted as a touchdown for the Seahawks that should have been an interception for the Packers, but the replacement refs that were on hand that night ended up calling it the wrong way. And so it ended up giving the Seahawks the win, the Packers a loss, and actually in the end of the season, the change in standing there actually ended up, it made an impact in that season. And so after that night in Week 3 of 2012, then the NFL and the officials association did actually come to an agreement. And from then on, from Week 4 on in 2012, it was the normal refs were back at it again. But I'm just telling you, I'm warning you right now, the reports that are coming out from NFL insiders, not looking good for 2026 to start out with referees. The reason I say that is there was just a tweet just a couple hours ago from Albert Breer, another NFL insider, and he said the NFL and NFLRA's, NFL Refs Association, most recent set of negotiations were set to start today in Florida. They didn't even make it to noon. Talks broke off with the league's owners' meetings set for next week in Arizona, which earlier I had said Florida. It's in Arizona. My apologies. The league meetings are in Arizona this year. But moving on with what Albert Breer says here, from the NFLRA executive director Scott Green, quote, "We gave them a counter proposal and they rejected it. We asked them to give us a response and they refused. As their lead negotiator, Larry Ferranzi, said he was not authorized to do so at that point. They then got up and left." An NFL source said that the NFLRA refused to engage in ways to improve officiating performance. The plan was for the 2 days of negotiating, but talks ended after the morning session. So, again, NFL league annual league meeting is supposed to start next week on Monday. The 2 days for 2 days preceding that, the league meeting is kind of over the weekend and the week, but of next week. But for 2 days preceding that, the NFL's representatives and the NFL Referees Association representatives were supposed to have 2 days of negotiations over a new CBA, and a half a day into negotiations, they completely fell apart and stopped talking. So that is not a good sign. That is a sign that the two sides are way far off from what they are wanting. So, and again, the way that the two sides are presenting this, of course, the Refs Association, obviously, they're probably wanting more pay, whatever. I don't know the exact details of what the Referees Association is asking for currently, but again, I would argue they have valid reasons to argue for some stuff. I know one thing is that the Referees Association likes to argue for, that I don't necessarily agree with, is complete privacy, basically the Referees Association wants officiating crews to be totally void of having to answer any questions about calls that happen. Not that they really do anyways, but occasionally when there's super bad plays, you might have an officiating person that gives a press release or a statement on something. They're usually nothing burgers, but they sometimes will give stuff like that on specific plays, especially if they happened in like prime time or on a playoff game. But like the Referees Association, I've heard it mentioned that like they want none of that. They don't want there to be any question and answer on what happened here. So there is that. But again, the Referees Association might be wanting better pay. They might want to have refs be able to be full-time. I don't know what the exact demands and hopes are there, but for the NFL's side, they're claiming that what they're trying to do is just change some things around to make officiating better. And we'll get into that in a minute with some of the changes that are going to be discussed in the just overall league meeting this upcoming week. But obviously, the NFL is trying to improve its officiating, but to some extent, with this negotiation and with this statement from the NFL's side of things, I think they're more so just using this as a bargaining chip and as a PR standpoint to try to get fans on their side. Because again, the NFL has the power; they've got the leverage, but if we're being real here, do we really think that these 32 ownership groups and CEOs, I guess the Packers aren't quite the same in that sense, different ownership situation there with fans and local people being owners, but still, do you really think the money makers for these NFL teams, do you really think they are really just wanting to make the officiating better? No, they want to, they want money. They want the financial side of this officiating deal to benefit them. That's what they care about. And it doesn't, based off the reporting, including what I just read, doesn't sound like the two sides are at all close on a deal right now. And with that, there's also been reporting in the last week or so that the NFL has already been putting out feelers to putting out emails and stuff to, officials who are in like junior college level officiating. Like I'm talking like below CFB. We're talking about. We're talking like Division 2, 3, 4, lower than that. Those are the spots that they go for replacement officials. You might think that in 2012 and now you would think that the NFL would go for top level, big power, conference officials. But no, they don't want to do that because the NFL doesn't do that because those are where the actual officials often end up coming up through the ranks through. And so a lot of times those officials aren't going to want to take the offer, because if you're an SEC official and you accept an offer from the NFL to come and be one of the replacement referees, and then you later want to join the NFL Referee Association and be an actual employee, you don't want that association and the already veteran officials to be upset that you were the one that came in and took their job and helped lower their leverage to be able to argue for better pay and whatever. So again, that's why the NFL often goes all the way down to, junior college level, like very small level officiating for the replacement refs. So, if you didn't watch the 2012 or the 2012 early season to know what the replacement officiating was like, if you think officiating is bad normally in football or sports in general, if you think it's bad now, just wait until you see replacement officiating. It will be worse. It was worse in 2012. It was much worse. So I really hope it doesn't happen, but the NFL is already sending out emails trying to get interest from people to be replacement refs, which means if they're already right now at the end of March preparing that kind of stuff, that means they believe, that the NFL itself believes there's a real chance that they're going to need replacement refs at least to begin the season. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.